The single biggest reason experienced project managers fail the PMP exam is not a lack of knowledge. It is a failure to think the way PMI thinks. They answer questions the way they would handle things in real life, and PMI rewards a different answer. In this video, I am going to teach you the PMI mindset, the specific way of thinking that the exam is built around, and how to apply it to any question you face on exam day. This is the video that ties everything together. Let's get into it. Experienced project managers often score lower on practice exams than candidates with less experience. This seems counterintuitive until you understand why it happens. In the real world, project managers cut corners when they have to, escalate when it is politically necessary, and make judgment calls based on relationships and context. These are often the right decisions in practice. On the PMP exam, PMI describes an idealized version of project management, where every process is followed, every stakeholder is engaged proactively, and the project manager always takes the most principled path. Real-world shortcuts are wrong answers on the exam. The PMI mindset is not about how you actually manage projects. It is about how PMI believes projects should be managed. Learn the difference and you unlock the exam. The PMI mindset can be summarized in 4 words: proactive, process-driven, people-first, and principle-based. Proactive. The PMI project manager anticipates problems before they occur, communicates before there is a crisis, and plans before there is a gap. Reactive behavior is almost always the wrong answer. Process-driven. Every significant action follows an established process, change control, risk response, stakeholder engagement. Skipping process, even with good intentions, is wrong on the exam. People first. Project managers lead through relationships, empathy, and influence, not authority. The team is served, not commanded. Principle-based. The right answer is grounded in PME's values: integrity, respect, responsibility, fairness. When logic fails, these principles resolve the tie. Understanding who PMI's ideal project manager is makes every question easier. PMI's PM is a servant leader. Their primary job is to remove obstacles and enable the team, not to direct and control. They lead through influence, not authority. PMI's PM is an integrator. They connect people, processes, and information. When something falls through the cracks, the PM notices and acts. PMI's PM is a communicator. They over-communicate proactively, document decisions, and ensure every stakeholder has the information they need before they ask for it. PMI's PM is a risk thinker. They identify risks early, plan responses, and monitor continuously. Surprises on their project are minimized because they thought ahead. The most consistently tested PMI mindset principle is proactivity. On the exam, any answer that waits for a problem to get worse, defers action without justification, or responds only after damage is done, is almost always wrong. The PMI project manager does not wait for stakeholders to raise concerns. They engage stakeholders before concerns develop. They do not wait for risks to materialize. They identify and plan responses early. They do not wait for scope creep to become a crisis. They manage change control from day one. When you read a question and 2 options both seem reasonable, ask yourself, which one is more proactive? The earlier intervention is almost always the PMI answer. The second PMI mindset principle: process is never optional, regardless of circumstances. Time pressure does not justify skipping change control. A trusted stakeholder requesting a change does not justify bypassing approval. Good intentions do not override process. On the PMP exam, the correct answer almost always follows established process, even when the scenario implies it would be faster or more practical not to. This is where experienced project managers most often go wrong. In real life, they have learned when to bend the process. PMI's exam does not reward bending the process. It rewards following it. Recognize this distinction, and it changes how you read every scenario question. The third principle: when people and process are both in play, engage the people first. This seems to contradict principle 2, but it does not. Process discipline applies to technical project decisions, scope, schedule, cost, risk. People engagement applies to human dynamics, conflict, motivation, communication, team development. When a stakeholder is upset, the PMI answer addresses the emotion before the process. When a team member is struggling, the PMI answer coaches before it escalates. When conflict arises, the PMI answer facilitates direct resolution before invoking authority or formal process. People first thinking in human situations, process first thinking in technical situations. The exam test whether you know which context you are in. When you are stuck between two options that both seem proactive, process compliant, and people focused, use PMI's values as the tiebreaker. PMI's 4 values: integrity, responsibility, respect, and fairness. The option that best reflects these values is almost always the correct answer. Integrity. The PMI project manager is honest, transparent, and does not withhold information that stakeholders need, even when the news is bad. Responsibility. The PM owns outcomes, does not deflect blame, and addresses problems directly. Respect. The PM treats everyone with dignity, regardless of seniority or role. Fairness. The PM applies standards consistently and does not favor one stakeholder over another without justification. The PMI mindset changes how you read questions, not just how you answer them. 3 questions to ask when you read any scenario. First, what is actually being tested? Strip away the industry, the specific details, the drama. Is this a conflict question, a change control question, a risk question, a communication question? Name the domain and the right mindset clicks into place. Second, who is the project manager in this scenario, and what would PMI's ideal PM do right now? Not what you would do, not what your manager would do, what PMI's ideal PM would do. Third, is the question asking for the first action, the best action, or the next action? The sequence matters enormously on the PMP exam. The best action taken out of sequence is often the wrong answer. 5 patterns that the PMI mindset consistently produces and that the exam consistently rewards. Pattern 1, investigate before acting. When a problem appears, the PMI answer finds the root cause before implementing a solution. Pattern 2, engage directly before escalating. The project manager resolves issues at the lowest possible level before involving senior leadership. Pattern 3, document everything. Agreements, decisions, risks, changes, all are written down. Verbal agreements do not count. Pattern 4, follow process even under pressure. Time constraints and stakeholder requests do not override established process. Pattern 5, serve the team, influence stakeholders. The PM does not command the team or ignore stakeholders. They enable one and influence the other. Knowing what the PMI mindset rejects is as valuable as knowing what it embraces. The PMI mindset rejects shortcuts. Any option that skips a step to save time is suspect. It rejects assumptions. The PM verifies, confirms, and documents rather than assuming things are understood. It rejects authority as a primary tool, telling team members what to do without explaining why, or using positional power instead of influence, is the wrong PMI behavior. It rejects blame. When something goes wrong, the PMI answer focuses on resolution and prevention, not on identifying and punishing who caused the problem. It rejects passivity, waiting, hoping, and monitoring without action or wrong answers. The PMI-PM acts. Here is the practical decision framework for applying the PMI mindset on exam day. Step 1. Name the domain. Is this a people question, a process question, or a business environment question? The domain tells you which mindset principle leads. Step 2. Apply the relevant principle. People question, people first, empathy, servant leadership. Process question, follow process, document, control. Business question, stakeholder value, benefits realization, governance. Step 3. Eliminate options that contradict the mindset. Shortcuts, escalation, avoidance, authority first, eliminate them. Step 4. Select the most PMI-aligned option remaining. The one that is most proactive, most process compliant, most people respectful, most principle based. 4 ways candidates fail to apply the PMI mindset under exam pressure. Failure 1. Answering from real-world experience instead of PMI principles. Your instinct says one thing, the PMI mindset says another. Trust the mindset. Failure 2. Choosing the politically realistic option. The exam does not care about organizational politics. The principled answer is right even when it would be difficult in practice. Failure 3. Choosing the common sense option. Common sense in your industry is not always PMI sense. When in doubt, apply the 4 principles, not intuition. Failure 4. Changing correct answers under time pressure. Candidates who second-guess their first answer late in the exam often change correct answers to wrong ones. Trust the mindset. Trust your first read. Let's apply the PMI mindset to one final exam-style question. Question. A project manager discovers that a vendor has been delivering materials that are slightly below the agreed specification. The variance is small and has not yet caused any visible project issues. The vendor relationship is important for future projects. What should the project manager do? Option A. Continue monitoring the situation and take action only if project issues develop. Option B. End the vendor contract immediately to protect the project's quality standards. Option C. Document the non-conformance, notify the vendor formally, and work with them to establish a corrective action plan that returns deliverables to spec. Option D. Informally ask the vendor to improve quality without creating documentation to preserve the relationship. The correct answer is C. Let's apply the PMI mindset framework. This is a process and people question combined. The PMI mindset says proactive, process-driven, principle-based. The nonconformance must be addressed now, not when it causes visible issues. Option C documents the issue, process. It notifies the vendor formally, transparency and integrity. It works collaboratively on a corrective action plan. People first, relationship preserving. It addresses the root cause, not just the symptom. Every element of C aligns with the PMI mindset. Why not A? Waiting until issues develop is reactive. The PMI mindset rejects passivity. Why not B? Ending the contract immediately is the most disruptive option and skips direct resolution. Why not D? Informal communication without documentation violates the process principle. Verbal agreements and informal requests do not satisfy PMI's documentation standard. C is the only option that is simultaneously proactive, process compliant, people respectful, and principle based. That is the PMI mindset, the thinking framework that ties every video in this series together. Proactive, process driven, people first, principle-based. Apply it consistently, and it will guide you to the right answer, even when you are uncertain. Subscribe for more PMP exam prep. You have watched the full series. You have the knowledge, the formulas, the strategies, and the mindset. Go past the PMP. See you on the other side.